The concept of coverage in software testing. Test coverage is an essential part of software testing. It's defined as a metric in software testing that measures the amount of testing performed by a set of tests. By the amount of testing, we mean that what parts of the application program are exercised when we run a group of tests. In simple terms, test coverage measures the effectiveness of our testing. So when we can count upon some things in the application and also tell whether the test cases are covering those things of the application, then we can say that how much our test cases have covered. So for example, if we have 4 features and we tested only 3 of them, then our test coverage is 75% of the features. Or if we have 1,000 lines of code and our tests visited or exercised 600 lines of those lines, then our test coverage is 60%. So the effectiveness of testing is not measured by the number of test cases, but rather by how much those test cases can cover. You can have 100 test cases that say cover 50% of your software. You can add 100 more test cases, but test coverage would be still the same, 50%. And you can add just 1 more test case, which will increase test coverage to 100%. So it's not about the quantity, but the quality of the tests. Measures software testing. So what are the parts of the software that we can measure for coverage? Requirements coverage. Has the software been tested against all the requirements? Structure coverage. Has each design element of the software been exercised during testing, classes, functions? Implementation coverage. Has each line of code of the software been exercised during testing or not? But how can we know which requirement has been tested? Well, we need some sort of a map that will show traces between each requirement and each test. Such traceability will help know which requirement has been tested by which test case and which requirement has not been tested at all. Such a traceability concept can be applied between requirements, design elements, lines of code, test cases, and so on. So why do we do test coverage? We perform test coverage analysis for the following reasons. To find the areas in specified requirements which is not covered by our tests, to know where we need to create more test cases to increase our test coverage. Also, we can measure how a change request will affect the software, identifying a quantitative measure of the test coverage, which is an indirect method for quality check, and last, identifying meaningless test cases that do not increase coverage.